We'd like to welcome everyone to our Tuesday, July 22nd Bountiful City Council meeting. Sorry for the late start. We will begin now, and we are grateful to Ron Mortensen for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, everybody get up and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thanks to Eileen West for being willing to offer our opening prayer tonight.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity to be here at the City Council meeting. We ask Thee to bless the City Council and all those who witness this, that they may be wise, that they may be blessed with the gift of wisdom, and that they may be blessed with understanding of the best way to be able to handle the issues that need to be solved in our great city of Bountiful. We are grateful for our city, for the blessing of having a peaceful, wonderful, beautiful city. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much for that prayer. We will now have our public comment period. If you wish to speak, you'll have 2 minutes. If you would please come forward and state your name and where you live.
I'm Ron Mortensen in Bountiful, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also the chair of the board of the South Davis Water District. And I'm speaking to item 9 on the agenda tonight, which is water restrictions. And our board's been concerned for a number of years now about the aquifer in this area, and it's the entire South Davis aquifer that there's a feeling that the recharge levels are not keeping up with what we're taking out. And we've had some studies that we've got access to that show that 40% of the recharge in the aquifer here comes from the imported Weber water that we put on our lawns and gardens. So we're importing water to build up the aquifer. And we're concerned that when Bountiful Irrigation, for example, is putting on water meters now, and that's designed to reduce water usage by 30%, well, that will reduce the flow going back into the aquifer by that 30%. And the water that we're conserving through our measures in irrigation water also will have an impact on less going into the aquifer. At the same time, we're depleting the aquifer too fast. So I just really hope that we can all figure this out together. And we're very happy we helped out when the well problem here happened. Unfortunately, our well couldn't keep up, and now our well is down also. So it's not a critical problem. It's not hair on fire time, but it is something that we really all have to keep an eye on and work on. And it's all of the cities in this area that are impacted by that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one else, we will now move to item 3, to consider approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held on June 24th and July 8th, 2025.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilwoman Price Hewish, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And now we'll move to council reports, and we'll start tonight with you, Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Thanks, Mayor. Last week, the South Davis Recreation District had its monthly board meeting. As you're all aware from past updates, budget has been a big issue and priority with the South Davis Recreation District, and personally, I've been pleased with the progress we've been making to help align mission and budgets and costs, but we still have work to do. And so one of the things I wanted to report so that you would have it on your radar in particular, because property tax notices came out, but the Recreation District is on a different fiscal cycle. They're on a calendar year fiscal cycle compared to cities and school district, things like that. So the Recreation District is considering a 5% property tax increase. There will be a truth in taxation hearing that'll be scheduled. Galen may have to help me if he recalls, but because we're on this different budget cycle, it's not necessarily one that shows up on this year's property tax notices. It would kind of catch up for next year's property tax. He's hinting to me that it's November, so we have time. We have time for me to get you the right date. Property tax increases, right, are, as we all know, a very hard discussion. On one hand, 5% is not a lot, and it would be a very minuscule amount per month. We have a resident who is always helpful to remind us that for some, saying that it's the price of a can of Coke feels small and insignificant, but to others, that can of Coke is really meaningful if you're on a fixed income. So it's something to be taken seriously and thoughtfully. As Bountiful's representative to that board, I continue to be a fan of making sure that we're thoughtful about the various levers in our control financially. So some of that is user fees, some of that is making some strategic realignment of program offerings, and some of that is the property tax subsidy. And so my personal view and philosophy has been to be thoughtful about using all three levers evenly, because if you just go to the full extent of your property tax authority, then if we ever have a major repair, that's not available as a tool. We've almost finished. We finished a full year and are starting to be able to do some comparisons of different programs, and which are able to be completely covered by user fees and which are being subsidized. And we've played with some of those levers on user fees, and that's definitely had an impact on some programs. Adult sports and adult league sports in particular have had declining enrollment, like adult basketball leagues and softball and things like that. It has not impacted junior jazz in the least. We continue to have the biggest junior jazz program in the entire state. So the board is trying to play with each of those levers and arrive at that hopefully thoughtful package of an important resource to the community, an important offering, young and old and everything in between, but also trying to land lightly on residents' pocketbooks. But I felt I would be remiss if I didn't highlight for you that is something that's up for discussion. And I, or more likely Galen or Tyson, could always talk to you more about the budget of the Recreation District if you want to go into more detail.
Thank you. Councilman Higginson.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Murray.
Just one thing, I was trying to find the note of if it's this year or next year, but other taxing entities of property tax. I know we got Davis County School District is proposing theirs, and that's a significant one. And I know the mosquito abatement is also going to be putting out a notice for an increase. I just can't remember what the increase is, so I'll look that up and I'll send that out to the council so we know. But it'd be interesting to see, as thoughtful as everyone is on that, if we know, all the entities that are proposing a property tax increase in the same year, it adds up very quickly for all of our taxpayers. So I'll look through those notes and send that out just so that you're all aware of what the mosquito abatement group is looking at as well.
Thank you. Councilwoman Price Hewish.
Thank you, Mayor. First, for the Bountiful City Youth Council. They will be, they are going to be participating in the Handcart Days celebration that is taking place throughout this week. And I'm really excited that they are going to be helping carry the very large flag that is provided by the Brent Taylor Foundation. And they'll be participating in that with the Woods Cross Youth Council. So I hope everyone's planning on attending the parade. I know I am. And it's going to be this Saturday at 9 a.m. And it's always an amazingly just fun, good time. I don't have anything to report from the Power Commission tonight. However, I do want to recognize that Dan Bell is here from the Power Commission, and he's a really important person there and a great contributor. I also wanted to just quickly report on the Healthy Utah Community Designation effort. And there are multiple people in the city and in the community who are participating in that. And I want to thank Beth Child, our council member Beth Child, who came to the meeting and participated in our small group breakouts. And we had our first meeting this past week. And not even quite a week ago with the Bountiful Health Coalition. And it's a remarkable group of individuals that represent outdoor recreation, the medical community, the mental health community, youth, food security, gardening, and more. So these are community members who are giving of their time to help establish strategies for the city to move forward in on physical activity, mental health, and access to healthy foods. So one thing that I did want to mention is Tiff Miller, who is the executive director. I don't know if that's his official title at the Rec District. He is on our Health Coalition board. And a couple of things that I think I was really impressed with as he was talking at the meeting at the Health Coalition is that they do have some really incredible programs that reach members of our community that might not otherwise be reached, such as the adaptive needs sports programming, and that is offered to individuals in our community at a reduced cost, and that fills a really unique need in our community. They also have been very responsive in adding some mental health programming, mindfulness, and things that are helping in that space. And those, according to Tiff, have been really highly utilized, and he feels like those are making an impact in the community. So I appreciate the work that they're doing there at the Rec District, and it's an incredible resource here in our community. And thanks, Councilmember Bradshaw, for serving in that capacity, because it's hard decisions, but good work that's happening. So that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor,
you so
could
much.
we ask, since I know Councilmember Price-Hewish needs some timely feedback on this, could we ask her a couple questions?
Sure.
So,
Okay.
if you don't mind,
There could be some typos in this. But yes, this was not for prime time, but
I feel your pain. I sometimes send some communications out and they have typos. What I want to understand is on the healthy communication plan at the bottom where we have two additional strategies, since you wanted feedback, do you want, is it the requirement, are we looking for 2 additional strategies per category? So 2 for active living, 2 for access to healthy food, and 2 for mental health? Or is it 2 across all those categories?
okay, that is a really good question, and thanks for that clarification. So this is not something we're going to be voting on, like in an official capacity, but I did give everybody, and if any member of the public wants to see the recommendations that were made. Nothing is official, nothing's being acted on, but these were recommendations by the Health Coalition, so by way of reference. So in those 3 categories that are mentioned, active living, access to healthy food, and mental health, there have to be 2 that are in place right now that the city is kind of actively engaged in or working on, or partners, trusted partners that we work with. The community health plan at the bottom that says 2 additional strategies, those are 2 additional strategies from any of the categories total. So you could choose one from active living and one from the mental health. These are the recommendations that were made by the Health Coalition. So I think in total, there are 10 recommendations. Of those 10, we'll have to select 2 recommendations, but they cannot be from the same category. So 2 additional, and cannot be from the same category, and you could do more, but for the size, the number is determined or set by the size of your town or your city. And we are considered a mid-sized city, and because we don't reach the 65,000 person threshold. So we're required to do 2 additional strategies, and just to be clear, those are things that are aspirational yet doable, things that the city would be able to operationalize with current partnerships or and I think that the Health Coalition was very mindful and like, oh, what are things that we could do that build upon strategies that already exist, who are partners that we could, trusted entities within the city. So, and we have 3 years. It's not something that has to be implemented all at once. It's a 3-year plan.
That
was probably more info than you wanted.
That's a great clarification. So two things that need to be implemented over the next 3 years, 2 at minimum. Yes, in 2 different categories. And that is to achieve the Healthy Utah designation for our city. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Okay, so.
Mayor, could I also say, and just for everyone, I think it's because I drove by Hatch Park today and I put Hatch Park. It's not Hatch Park in the first one, at point number 1 under active living. It's not.
Okay.
It's Eggett Park.
Eggett, okay. Thank you. Okay, that's helpful. Great. And Councilwoman Child, do you have a report?
Yes, I did attend the Health Coalition meeting, and kudos to Councilwoman Price Hewish for a lot of hard work and thought in putting together a wonderful crew there. Thank you. I'm happy to say that there will be no tax increases from the service organizations in Bountiful this year, so always have to report that. The biggest thing we've got going on is handcart days, and we've referred to that already. I think from the parade organizer point of view, they're concerned that people won't come because you hate to throw a parade and no one comes, so come. I don't think that's actually a real concern, but a lot of hard work has gone into that. The mayor appeared on KUTV the other day promoting handcart days and other activities coming up in Bountiful, and thank you for doing that. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for your work preparing for the parade, and I'm sure it will be well attended. So it's really exciting. The handcart activities this week, including concert Friday night, park activities Friday and Saturday, as well as concert Friday night, parade activities, park activities Friday and Saturday, parade Saturday morning, fireworks Saturday evening. So it's an exciting week for us here for Handcart Days. Thank you for what you've done on the committee. Just as by way of report, I will just report, I'm really excited to hear from our fire chief tonight, and I'm really excited to serve on the fire district board. And we do not have a tax increase being proposed for the fire district. We do have a member assessment that we're asking for from the cities, but no tax increase for residents, so that's great. And I'll be excited when we get to hear from the fire chief. Will you please, when you talk to us, will you tell everyone about the award that you won? That was great. And then also just a report on my assignment at the South Davis Sewer District. We had a discussion about equivalent dwelling units, EDUs, to determine monthly service charges, and it's always this debate about how to best determine water usage, right? And so we've had lots of long discussions about how is the best way to appropriately determine water usage and to bill for it. And as Ron knows, Ron Mortensen, that's often a guest at the sewer district meetings, it's an approach where we try to balance user fees and property taxes there, so that we're not too heavy on one side or kind of having that balance. One thing that's happening at the sewer district is that there are walls that are being erected for a new administrative building, and so as it gets closer, it's not done yet, but as it gets closer, they will have a new administrative building that they have bonded for that will be impressive. And the old building, they make do at the sewer district, and so it's definitely time for a new admin building, but it'll be an exciting development there. Also, just wanted to report on one last thing, and that is that I went to a meeting today, and Councilwoman Child was there as well, and Councilwoman Bradshaw on Zoom, where we heard from the library board about their plans. And so the library that is here in Bountiful, it's owned and maintained by the county, by Davis County, and the library board they voted unanimously to remodel the existing facility. And so that is their plan. And so as opposed to building a new library, they will be remodeling the current library in Bountiful. And we talked a little bit about earthquake safety. It will be built to life safety standard. This choice to remodel the current building means that it will be 24,000 square feet approximately, versus if they were to build new, it would be 18,000 square feet. So they opted for a larger building. That was part of what went into their decision. There was a whole document that was pros and cons of remodeling versus building new, and that's an interesting document that I would recommend. I'd like to see if I can get that from the county for the council's review. But the decision has been made to remodel. They estimated that it would be January-ish when they were hoping to begin, and they were estimating that it would take somewhere around 1.5 years. They're open to ideas for temporary library locations here on the south end of the county. And so any other questions, any other thoughts that you had to chime in about the report from the meeting?
I think you covered the basic points. With looking for these locations, they are looking for a location to be able to keep the staff running a temporary library, and also possibly a storage, also possibly a story time kind of an area. So I don't know if they're going to come back to the city and ask for our recommendations, but we might be thinking about that.
Yeah.
They also talked about using the existing mature foliage that's on the north side of the library, that right now you don't ever see. They talked about incorporating that more, making that more useful, but there were no drawings yet, no renderings. So.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. That's a good point. They didn't really have design to review for the public yet. So thanks, everybody.
Question, Mayor, if I
Yeah,
could.
sure.
So does remodel mean they're going to tear down the existing building and build a new one in its site? Or are they just remodeling the existing building?
It seemed to me that they were going to use like the existing foundation, footings, and walls. Is that what it seemed to you?
Yeah, it sounds like they need to redo all of the plumbing, the electrical, shore up the roof. So it sounds like the walls will still be standing, but that's about it.
Okay. Will they be able to remove the smell?
Hopefully that will go with the asbestos. I don't know.
Yeah, they did talk about air ducts. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we'll now move to consider approval of expenditures greater than $1,000 paid on July 2nd and 9th of 2025, as well as the May 2025 financial report.
Move to approve those as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And now, Chief Stewart, thank you so much for being here tonight. Would you also tell us how many fires are you going to talk about this?
Yeah, we'll highlight some of that as we go.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mayor. Mayor and council, thanks for having me be here. I'm excited to be here and talk about the fire department. In front of you, I have provided our annual report for 2024. This is the 7th year in a row that we've done this, and it's something we really enjoy putting together every year and see, not only where we're going, but where we've come from. So it's kind of fun to be able to be here and present that to you. There's a few extra copies if anybody in the audience wants a copy or wants to look at it, and it's also on our website that you can pull it up. But, so just to start, and I'm not going to read this entire thing to you, it's mostly pictures because firefighters put it together, and we like pictures. But I like to start when I talk about the fire department on page 8. And on page 8, it has our mission statement. And our mission statement reads, "Our mission is to preserve life, protect property, and exceed the expectations of those we serve." And when I present this mission statement to my captains and my company officers, I tell them this mission statement summary is we have one purpose on the fire department, and that's to serve the public. Everything else that we do is secondary, so everything else supports that mission. So just so you know, when you think about the fire department, that's what we're out there doing every single day, is we're trying to preserve life, protect property, and exceed the expectations. If you turn to page 11, you just kind of see a map of our area and the different stations, so you can see how we're strategically located kind of across the areas of which we serve, the 5 cities and some small unincorporated Davis County. Moving on to page 13, this one I just emphasized to show you, these are the faces of the people that are providing your service every single day. And when I talk about the fire service, I always say what makes the fire service great is all these individual people coming from different upbringings, different experiences, different life troubles, and they come to work every day to solve people's problems. And that's what I think makes the fire service great. Nobody's the same. Everybody has different experiences and different knowledge, and that's what's great. Just to give you kind of a recap of our staffing levels, we have 97 sworn firefighters, and daily our full staffing is 29. So when we have multiple incidents across this area, our max staffing is 29. We will allow that to fall to 24 before we mandatory bring people back on overtime. And you can imagine they really enjoy that. So we try not to do it very often. Moving on to page 14, 15, this kind of gives you the rundown of the type of calls we go on. The total calls for service last year was 7,503, with our slowest month being April and our busiest month being July, and that's where we happen to be right now. So just to give you a little state of the department in July, we kind of consider this our halfway point in our special events. And we're coasting into Pioneer Day, which is kind of the end of it. We have a few that are just here and there after that, but we kind of ramp up the 1st of July, and everybody in the admin team starts to get anxiety, and they worry about that 7,503. Those are the normal calls we have to handle, and then we have a bunch of special functions and standbys and all this other events that we staff. So just to give you an example, for the first part of the fireworks season or the holiday season, we staffed an extra 20 positions for what we call special functions. So special function can be anything from a staff member in an ambulance at a park or in a brush truck at a fireworks show, those kind of things. We also like to, at this time of the year, during the allowed fireworks discharge dates, we like to staff what we call a wildland patrol, and that's 2 people in a brush truck that are just driving around in the area watching for problems, and we call it pre-positioned. They're ready to go. They're not sitting in a station, but they're out driving around looking for issues. So that's kind of nice. In that same period of the first part of the season, there were 10 of those special function shifts that we were unable to fill. We don't force people to work them. We try to, for lack of better terms, shame people into helping us, but we don't make them do it. You know, we offer overtime to cover these shifts. The 10 that were unfilled, they were either filled with duty crew or they went unfilled. So the ones that went completely unfilled, they were kind of it would be nice to have, but they're non-critical, non-essential. So in that same time period of the first part of the fireworks season, we filled 12 extra overtime shifts just for regular daily staffing. So that kind of gives you an idea of how busy we are, what we're trying to do. And so you think about city events and you think about, and luckily none of the other 5 cities that we cover do Pioneer Day. It's just Bountiful. We love that. Don't tell any of the other ones how great Pioneer Day is. They don't need to know. But you think about the events that we cover for Bountiful City, and you times that by 5 cities, and that's what we're doing at the fire district. So it keeps us busy. This time of year, everybody wants to know, how many calls have we had that were firework related. So I dug through that data just to really drill down, and we can affiliate fireworks to 6 fire calls that we had. Generally, these were grass fires or garbage cans on fire that we went on. Luckily, if you remember, Mother Nature came in on the 4th of July and I think really helped us out. But that gives me a lot of concern for the 24th, just because I think people bought the fireworks and didn't light them off on the 24th because it rained a little bit, or the 4th, so it rained. So I'm concerned and just kind of keeping an eye on what it looks like for the 24th, but we'll be ready. So as you look at as you look at those quick stats on 14 and 15, a lot of times people want to know, well, what are the type 5 calls that you go on? So type 5 EMS calls are number 1. This will tell you a little bit about the demographics in our area, but number 1 is falls. So we go on a lot of falls every single day. Number 2 is a sick person. Number 3 is auto accident. Number 4 is transfer, and that's a facility-to-facility transfer from the hospital to another hospital. And number 5 is unconscious. So the top 5 fire calls are vehicle fire, number 1, grass fire, building fire, cooking fire, and then power pole or electrical equipment fire. Just kind of round those out there. Let's skip through. You can kind of look through and just see the different divisions we have and what they're responsible for. I'm going to just skip to the other things that maybe you don't think about that we have, and that if you look on page 31, we have a hazmat team. And the hazmat team, they received an award this year too. It's not the one that the mayor's talking about, but they received the LEPC Hazmat Team of the Year award for the state of Utah, and that was huge for us. They take a lot of pride in what they do with the hazmat team. Page 32 shows the technical rescue team, and our technical rescue team just competed in what we call the Petzl Games in Salt Lake City. There's a company called Petzl that provides rescue equipment for all over the world, and they put on a competition every year. And we have industrial teams come from all over the world to compete in this. And we had a team of 6 go down, and they did very well. They didn't win. They actually came in last because they didn't finish one of the obstacles, but they did really well. And what's important about these competitions is not only are they thinking critically under stress and learning how to work their obstacle under stress, is that they bring this training and knowledge back to the rest of the team that helps the community. So that's why we love that. Moving on, just quickly, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but if you go to page 42 and 43, it kind of rounds out a couple of other things that we do. We always participate every year in the burn camp. We go out and cook breakfast or lunch for the burn camp, which is, we love to do that. We have an honor guard that's very active, that they'll participate in funerals and special events. And then the Firefighter Challenge, we have a team of fitness guys at the department, guys and gals, that they really, they're into fitness. And so they've put together this combat fire team, and that's what the mayor was alluding to. They were able to participate in the first annual Hill Air Force Base Firefighter Challenge this last Saturday, and they took first place, and they actually annihilated the other teams. So,
Very
but
proud.
yeah, we're super proud, but it's just kind of a fun, morale building thing that they get to do. So that is really the gist of the report. I'm happy to take any questions, and hopefully I exceed the expectations every day for this city with the staff that I have out there taking calls. So, any questions for me?
Knowing that it's your busiest month of the year, I appreciate you even taking the time to be with us tonight.
Absolutely.
And you guys are. Your people go above and beyond, and we really appreciate you. Any questions, council?
On the back page is my business card. If anybody thinks of a question, feel free to reach out.
Nice document.
Yeah, that's put together by a firefighter right there. Just very talented that was able to organize that and put that all together.
Chief, what could we do to better support you during this busy July month? That would be my question, because I know that this is a stressful month. So from the elected side, what could we do to make your life easier?
Yeah, I actually think that the city does great with supporting us with fireworks restrictions and understanding that whole side of the fire department. I think that message is really getting out. As you drive around in a restricted area, you don't see a lot of fireworks going off, and that's good. That's really good. But just in general, just your support is great, and I appreciate everybody. People reach out and just, how are you doing? And yeah, we're doing okay. Thanks for asking. But this is definitely the high anxiety time of the year that we were talking as I came in. It's like it takes away my sleep for sure. So, but just the support that you care is great. Thank you.
Well, we understand if you need to leave after your time with us here tonight. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And we'll do our very best this week with Handcart Days to make it uneventful for you guys. But thanks for being there to help us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now ask Craig Christensen to come up for item number 7 to consider approval of a purchase of metering equipment.
All right, thanks Mayor and Council for having me here this evening. Got a couple to present. First things first, a little background about our meter system. It was changed over to the electronic reads, the encoded readers, over 10 years ago. That was put into place to help us, instead of doing the manual reads where you got to bend over, get the star key and pull the lid off, wipe it off and get the read, write it down, to the drive by and get more accurate reads that way. So the truck can drive by, get the reads, and then it gets sent off to the utility billing. So part of the system that was transferred over, we had to choose between different vendors for these ERTs that we have. So we ultimately ended up going with Badger meter that has the Itron ERT on it, and so it's kind of a single source deal where you can't cross different products with these because then it's not been able to read. So with that, we can only get bids from one place because they're the only ones that source this equipment for us. And so we were able to get that bid from Hydro Specialties company for $108,072. And that is actually for the ERTs and the lid kits, because the ERT has been changed. So the lid kit that goes in to the meter lid, like you can see on the pictures, those have to be changed out as well. So flip it over here. All right, so the purchase of these has been reviewed by city manager and the public works director. This is one of those things that we have budgeted for underneath the O&M in our budget. So it is staff recommendation that city council approve the purchase of this metering equipment from Hydro Specialties company for $1,072. If there's any questions?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe I'm missing this, but how many of these are we buying? How mu-
902, that's what they had in stock.
Okay.
So, yeah, 902 of these. So whenever there's a bad read, when they drive by, it flags it. And so we know that we have to go back and actually check that one. The batteries inside the ERT can go bad, and so it won't transmit the read, and that's when we have to change it out to these new ones. There are backups of the Itron system, and that's why we're only able to get the 902 of these. So we
And
wanted to get 1,000, but that's what they have.
how many of these do we have in the city total?
There's one for every meter, and so there's 11,200 of these in the system.
Okay.
And the life expectancy is between 10 to 15 years on the batteries. Sometimes the battery fails because the bottom cap gets knocked off when somebody steps on it while mowing their lawn. Contractors getting in there and breaking the connection between the register and the ERT itself. And so we have to change these things out. So we don't have to do them all at one time, it's just as they come in.
How, could I just ask, Mayor, I see that there was only that one local supplier.
Yes.
And how have the prices changed on this particular item over, I know we've had so many issues with parts and equipment costing more money,
Yeah.
inflation. How are these prices comparing?
When we actually negotiated 10 plus years ago, that was Mark that did that changeover. He was able to negotiate a solid price for so many years out. And so we actually got a really great price until this go around. And so it's like $150 per is what we're looking at. So, yeah. So it has gone up from the 100 that they were giving it to us. But, yeah.
Any other questions?
What happens when someone's meter fails to transmit? Do they get a free month of water service, or do we do like an average of their normal usage in the month of July?
So we actually just do the average. Just the baseline is what we go off of if they don't get that, because there's so many that happen at a time. They get caught up with them, and then they bring them up current from that point. So you would get charged a manual read. If you look at it, you'll see the A or the M, and that's an actual read or a manual read. And that's where they're just factoring in just that baseline rate until they get it figured out. And so that's what these are for, so we can start getting those replaced again. So it is just a base rate that we charge.
Yeah, that's a
at
good
that point.
question. Okay, any other questions?
Mayor, if there's no other questions, I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the metering equipment from Hydro Specialties.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and Craig for our next item.
All right, thank you. So this one's for a truck bed vacuum. It's actually it's a Vector type unit. So we've been using Vectors for a long time to excavate trenches, to excavate around utilities. We have a trailer unit that is really great, but what we found is that the demand for our field technicians and our crews that are out there working in the streets every day around all the other utilities, like our, Bountiful fiber lines that have been installed. We have to excavate around those sometimes to get to some of our leaks or install meters, things of that nature. So with the blue staking, you're not supposed to dig with equipment around those, and so you hydrovac around them. And even with the lead and copper rule that has come about, Over the last few years, we need to verify service line makes on every service line, city side and homeowner side connections. So what we're running into is that the crews need the vacuum at the same time. And so it puts a job off and takes it a little bit longer. So we found it necessary that we need to get another vacuum unit for this. And so this one actually fits in the bed of a truck. So we can put it in our flatbed, or if somebody needs it, you can use a forklift and throw it into the bed of their staff pickup trucks. So with these certain specifications that we were looking for to fit in the truck bed, only one manufacturer makes one that's that size. If not, you've got to get a trailer mounted unit, and it just takes up more space and more maintenance, but these little ones are a lot easier to use. So we reached out to the two vendors. Only one of them had the specific unit, and that was Vermeer Mountain West. And so this unit costs $28,722. This has been reviewed by City Manager and Public Works Director. This was an item that we had planned for with our new budget that we had talked about. So it is staff recommendation that the City Council approve the purchase of the truck bed vacuum from Vermeer Mountain West for $28,722. If there's any questions.
Thanks for explaining how that works. Council.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of the truck bed vacuum from Vermeer Mountain West for the stated price.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And Craig was in my neighborhood this last week. He was up all night along with other guys because we had a water leak there. And I know that that's not uncommon for you to, you'll do what needs to be done. So thank you so much for not getting sleep so that we could have water. We appreciate you.
Not a problem. Glad to do it. So,
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here tonight.
yep.
Okay, so we will move now to the next item, which do you have one more?
Yeah, so.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good, Mayor. Because Lloyd is out of town.
Oh, you're going to take that one
I'm
for us.
going to present
Oh,
this one
thank you.
for the
Okay, sorry about
restrictions.
that.
No, you're good.
Okay, thank you. You're going to present resolution number 2025-05 regarding watering restrictions.
Yes.
Okay,
So maybe I should say this right now. Brad told me I could only take 2 minutes on this, so.
okay.
I need to give kudos to Lloyd because Lloyd's the one that actually wrote the staff report. And so I'm just going to be working off of his staff report. We did work together on this, did get reviewed by multiple different departments. But so just a little background. We'll start back at winter where we did get some really good snowpack. It wasn't exactly what I think was forecasted by the meteorologists and things of that nature. We had good runoff from our treatment plant until just a couple weeks ago. We were treating the 1,400 gallons a minute. Now we're down to 800, so it has decreased significantly in the last couple weeks. But part of this is that our Calder well 2 weeks ago, Calder well just got redone, if you guys remember. And it's actually, the West know it well because it's in their backyard. But so that well, there's the small well that can pump 250 gallons a minute and the large well, the one that got rehabbed, that can do 800 gallons a minute. We rely heavily on the Calder well to pump from 3,100, where we were doing that leak the other day, up into the south and southeast parts of the city. So we started getting some calls about air in the lines. Found out, checked the aquifer levels, and found out that we were cascading the water in the aquifer, which cascading is kind of like when you open up the plug on your tub when it's full, and you can kind of see the little swirl, that's what it does inside the aquifer. And so it kind of cascades down, and so it causes air to get in there. So it pumps the air up. That air can actually hurt the impellers on the inside of the pumps. They can implode, and it causes them to wear out faster. So we had to shut off the little well, so we were 250 gallons less there. And then we had to reroute some water. We did try to purchase from South Davis because we have that capability at our 3100, and was short-lived. I think we got like 12 hours out of that. And so we actually had to go to the drawing board and figure some things out and readjust and open valves and change the direction of water. So we got that part taken care of. And then First East Well, that's just right outside here, started having the same thing happening to that one too. So aquifer levels are dropping. The demand is up from previous years. Lloyd did some figures and actually found that in this May of 25, 7.9% more use than the previous 6 years. And June was 16.6% higher use than the last previous 6 years. So a lot more water is being used. And this actually comes at a time South Davis put out a mailer that said that their irrigation use was 19% higher than previous year also. And so the water's getting used, which is great. You know, that's what we want to do, is provide the water. But there are also the cutbacks to where you start getting air in the line and ruining equipment if you're constantly pumping and getting that aquifer down. That kind of goes into tune with what Ron was saying earlier. So there's a little bit of the background. And Governor Cox actually just came out too and said that he was asking for everybody to watch what they're doing with watering throughout the state as well. So analysis of this. A couple of years ago on 22, we had to come to council and get approval for some watering restrictions then too, because of the drought that was happening then. So some of the guidelines that we were looking off of that was allowing it for domestic in-home use and emergency fire flow needs. That would be first priority of what we wanted to provide. Watering restrictions should be as uniform as possible throughout the city. The high priority areas, such as like Town Square, those areas that get lots of foot traffic on the grass that's there, those areas should still be able to be watered to help save costs on replacing sod and areas like that. Let's see here. Private conservation by all will allow public benefit for all. Each jurisdiction will enforce its own restrictions. So like we would enforce our own South Davis if they choose to, or Bountiful Irrigation choose to. We got to make sure that we want to communicate these restrictions to the public, to the residents of Bountiful, especially like on the map page that Lloyd had installed in here. The yellow areas are the ones that use the culinary water for outside irrigation use. So kind of to go along with this, a reduction in the irrigation demand is expected to affect the water system. So we'll have no unanticipated expense for purchase of water from South Davis or overages through Weber Basin if we do more than our 1,000 acre feet. We'll have the less pump run times, which reduces the utility costs and the wear and tear on the pumping equipment. It'll help maintain the reservoir levels to also have the supply for the domestic use plus the fire protection that we need to keep in those reservoirs. And especially with Chief just being here talking about fires and what can happen, we are required to have certain amounts in there for fire protection needs in our reservoirs. And we want to try to preserve our aquifers, not only for this year, but if we keep depleting them, it's going to be worse. There will be a reduced revenue from the metered water cells with the restriction of not allowing them to water as often. So in effect, to preserve the surface and groundwater resources, we'd like to enact the watering restrictions from July 31st, 2025 to April 15th of 26. Some of these, the finer points in here about the restrictions. Use the culinary water for outdoor watering is prohibited where irrigation water is provided by a third party. So that would be like Bountiful Irrigation. If they have Bountiful Irrigation's connection, they can't use our connection for that. It has a chance of cross connections, which can contaminate the culinary system. Outdoor watering prohibited during 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Maintain the storage levels in our culinary reservoirs. So we wouldn't allow watering on Wednesdays each week. By that Wednesday, that allows our system to actually catch up, keep reservoirs full, and then have the wells shut off, and so they can get some regeneration and not get that cascading or just sucking air. Watering the 3 times a week, different times for pop-ups or the rotators per zone. Hand watering's allowed for 5 gallons per minute flow for established trees and shrubs. Watering newly installed landscape shall comply with the limitations set forth in the resolution. Rinsing and washing of sidewalks, driveways, patios, or impervious surfaces not permitted. Residential swimming pools just filled up by the hose instead of off of your hose bib, instead of renting a hydrant meter and filling it up the quick way. Bountiful parks and city facilities are permitted to spot water to prevent permanent damage to the turf. And the golf course can do the water, the tee boxes, greens, fairways, and to keep those areas nice, and then spot watering on everything else. There are the enforcement actions. First offense is a written verbal warning. Second offense, $100 fine. Third offense, $250. Fourth offense, $500, and the fifth offense is $1,000. These will all be put on the utility bill, and water service will be terminated until the fine is paid on the 5th. So, like I mentioned earlier, this report has been reviewed by planning, the water, and the parks department directors, and city attorney and city manager. Significant impact is to preserve our resources. We want to keep them there for the future. Revenue will be lower than what was anticipated in our budget. The enforcement will be done by water department, engineering department, and planning department through the code enforcement there. Still be able to do some watering on city properties. And then so staff recommendation is to recommend to approve the proclamation 2025-01, and also the city council adopt the modifications to the use of culinary water for the period of July 31st, 25 through April 15th, 26, as outlined in resolution 2025-05. I'll try to answer any questions. if
Thank you.
have any.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes sense to treat water as the scarce resource that it is. So it makes sense to me that we should do this. What do you think? What are the best ways to get the word out? And to me, the ideas here that are proposed for the restrictions are quite extensive, and so I think it would be good if I'm sure that have a plan to have it on our website where it can be listed out. And but do you know what the other specifics are for letting residents know?
So what Lloyd and I have talked about, and I'm pretty sure that he's talked to Gary about it as well. Obviously, we do the website, social medias, the Facebooks, all that fun stuff. And then what we did previously was we actually had a door handout. And so in reality, if engineering, water department, and planning, if everybody in the departments take 15 of those and you go hand them out to these 15, it doesn't take very long. And so we would just go hand it out to each individual home that uses the culinary water for that.
Okay.
So
Okay. What other questions do you have, council?
Go ahead.
Sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Craig, thanks for these stats that you and Lloyd worked on. I want to make sure I understand them right, so if I explain them to residents, I don't misquote you. The increase in May of 25 and June of 25 over prior years in terms of usage, is that citywide culinary usage, or is that percentage increase focused only on the areas where culinary water is used for outside watering?
citywide.
Citywide.
Yeah.
Do you have any guesses or why? I mean, for the vast majority of Bountiful, a secondary watering option is available. So to have the jump be so big citywide, I'm curious. Are we washing our clothes too much? Are we taking too long of showers?
Yeah, not energy efficient
Yeah.
washing machines, yeah. I'm not 100% sure. It could be that more people are still home.
Yeah, I might take a stab at it. It's not necessarily that we've seen a 16% increase in every area of the city, just that the overall amount of water that's being consumed is 16% higher than the prior year. So it's probably the same reason. It probably is the secondary, the outdoor watering. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, and so if that's the case, then while these stats are citywide, it's maybe predominantly driven by the areas where it is used for outdoor watering because they don't have another option.
Because our non-summer culinary consumption is very, very consistent throughout the year.
Yes.
And so it's almost certainly the outdoor watering.
Okay.
Frankly, we needed more rain. We only had one significant rainstorm since spring, so.
That's very true.
I've got a question. It seems like in 2022, when we adopted water restrictions, that we just did everything across the board to make it, the messaging more just consistent and simplified. And so we weren't really designating between the and I understand, it seems to point number 4, there will be restrictions for everyone citywide based on 3 times a week, and whether you have an odd number or even numbered house, you'll know what day to water. But only the culinary users are being restricted between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I just had a question about that. Am I seeing that correctly? And then also, it seems like in 2022, we just made all of the restrictions all the way, just kind of across the board. Does this seem like it would be easier for people to understand, adopt, and digest, and they've done it before? In fact, so I'm just curious about that, kind of treating the different areas differently. Looking at
So-
on page 49, number 2 and number 4.
Could I maybe answer that?
Yeah.
Or at least give a thought? The city has no jurisdiction in extending the regulations to other water providers' policies. So the only thing we can control is our culinary water, what we provide, even if folks are using it for outdoor irrigation. But there are other companies that provide the secondary water to the rest of the city, and they're the ones with the jurisdiction to set those policies, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah, thanks.
But we are on number 4, extending the 3 times per week citywide. That's not, that isn't, because where we say culinary, where it's culinary, we're saying in number 1 and number 2, just wanting to be clear, because we call out culinary water users, outdoor culinary water users, but then
We're giving like a general.
in number 4, it seems like what we're saying is citywide. It's, so if we are,
So you're talking the
yeah.
landscaping,
so
including turf,
landscaping,
but it's not specifying for culinary.
yeah, this is, so on our map on page 48, it would be the whole city, all the color areas, all the different providers, like Bountiful Irrigation, South Davis Water District, and the culinary. They're all included in number 4, correct?
No, because we can't enforce the outdoor water that from another jurisdiction. So
So really, we're passing this ordinance regulating our own culinary water, but we're suggesting watering.
well, and the answer to the question is both in the resolution and in the staff report. If you look at page 49, the paragraph before the numbers says, as such, restrictions to the outdoor use of culinary water for irrigation or other purposes proposed as follows. So all of these relate to the outdoor use of culinary water. And the resolution on page 53, the line second from the bottom says the same thing.
So the biggest impact for that would be those that have to use culinary water for their irrigation, which is the yellow
Right.
area.
It
And then
just-
anyone that's in the blue that would use their culinary water if they're gonna use a swimming pool or, because that's culinary water.
And it's possible somebody hooks up a hose bib to their house to water their irrigation, and that would all be under the same restriction as well.
So I do think it's a little confusing, to be honest, because I do. I think it's confusing in number 4 because it seems like that is more sweeping. So I think we need to just call that out again because we do in number 2. But then if we don't call it out in number 4, it seems like, are we talking about something different here? Is this citywide? Is this, and in 2022, we did limit the water use throughout the whole city.
Same situation in 2022. That where this language is the exact same as it was in 2022.
Maybe, let me ask you this question and see if it's helpful for clarifying. In 2022, our sister special service districts issued mirroring resolutions because of our overlapping jurisdiction, so that we could, given our patchwork where the different areas of the city have different opportunities for secondary or culinary water. So we all issued the exact same ordinance so that you would have consistent regulation no matter which part of the city you lived in. So we're including this ordinance in this language that's the same, and this is my question for our staff. Our expectation or our hope is that our sister special service districts will issue mirroring resolutions as well that include the restrictions, particularly in item number 4. Is that kind of the expectation?
We hope, we would certainly encourage everybody citywide to follow the same restrictions, don't you think, Craig?
Yes, I agree with that. And with the case of like Bountiful Irrigation, they're probably not going to until Weber Basin does, because then that's when they mirror what Weber Basin does. I think personally, we're just getting ahead of it before it's going to happen, so.
Okay, that to me is a helpful clarification. I don't know if that was helpful or otherwise.
Could I just piggyback off that then? If we're going to put this out on social media and we're going to, put door, hangers out there, in our social media, and I don't know who's going to be doing that, are we going to say, because this is going to go to the whole city, everyone is going to see, this
Our
water
residents
restriction.
will be confused, but
But are we going to say it's just for culinary water users? Because to me, I just find the language or the lack of calling it out where it is just culinary. I don't know. It seems like what we're saying is citywide, but we're not, because we
don't have the jurisdiction.
We can only regulate our culinary water. So I'm just, how does everyone envision this restriction being communicated then?
How likely, do we know how likely it is that the other service districts will adopt restrictions? Because if it's likely, then it would be less confusing, obviously.
I'm on the board of trustees of Bountiful Irrigation, and it's not likely right now. It comes from, I had a discussion with Darrell Nelson.
maybe we
Dan,
could ask Dan to come to the microphone.
Would you mind coming up? If anyone's online, then they can hear. Dan Bell is on the board for the Weber.
Yeah, I'm on the board at the Bountiful Irrigation.
Oh, thank you.
One of the trustees. And I had a discussion with Darrell Nelson, who's the chair of that, earlier this week, just about this topic. And there are no plans for this to be, these restrictions. And the reason was communicated to me, and I'm fairly new on the board, but the reason was communicated to me was it comes from a different water source. And so we're talking about a totally different water source that comes from a different area. And so right now there is not intent. And Weber Water Basin sets those, kind of, I think to what Councilman Bradshaw said, sets those early on in terms of what the specifications are for the year and the water usage. And it would take them changing that, which is unlikely at this point from what we're hearing right now. So.
Thank you.
And and to Councilman Price Hewish's comments, I had asked about the confusion too. I asked some questions about this because I was confused about number 4. And they've already alerted the Bountiful Irrigation staff that calls will probably start coming, depending on the communication. And in 2022, to the point that was made earlier, there was a resolution that came out of Bountiful Irrigation at the same time that the city made its resolution, so everybody's on the same page. But we're talking now about 2 different water issues in terms of supply, it sounds like.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you. In my opinion, I feel like we're looking at our water resources and what we can do to protect them. And
Correct.
It's impossible to craft a message that is perfectly suited to everyone who is a customer and then perfectly not suited to everyone who is not a customer. So in my opinion, I think we should move ahead with this resolution that says what our intentions are for our water supply, and if people discern it to conserve more and it happens to conserve other water resources, then I think that that's not a problem. But what other thoughts do you have? What other
But
concerns?
just look at, I mean, I when I was reading through this, I didn't read the first paragraph, but I already made adjustments on my watering of my yard. And I look at it now more as I'm just going to do my part to preserve the water, whether it's coming from Weaver Water Basin or our culinary. If the thing that drove me to make the change was the fire part of it, because if the LA fires didn't wake your senses to how valuable water is in a time of tragedy like the fires, then I don't know what else we can do, because if the aquifers are dry and our wells are dry, and the firemen above Bountiful Boulevard cannot pull water to fight a house fire that they experienced years ago, that's a problem. And so I think if a resident misreads it and goes and changes their sprinklers, then I think that's fine. They're probably using too much water anyways.
Any other comments or
Well, I think
questions?
in regard to the confusion, the last line before the list of restrictions says, outdoor use of culinary water is hereby limited, as Gary pointed out. So it really does specify right there that the only thing we're restricting is culinary water.
And we can be explicit in that in our communications once we get to that point, both in what's handed out and on social media. I think we can be more clear.
I mean, I just think when we have an opportunity to be totally crystal clear, then we should. And because most people are not going to, they're not going to read this staff report, they're not going to read the resolution. And I agree, yeah, I think we all should be conserving water and all these things, but if there are two people who were admittedly a little confused on paragraph number 4, and maybe others might be. So I hope that as we put this out, that anything that is succinct, digestible, quick information for people to understand, and the map's pretty helpful at that, but that people will know, because I don't want to put out information that could be more clear. So that's all, when we know.
Mayor?
Okay. Yes.
It has been my experience on the council that our residents are globally confused about their water districts and secondary water versus city departments. And to that end, since we have a trustee, maybe Bountiful Irrigation could change their name so it wasn't so confusing. Just an idea, since he's here, to carry back. But since we also have board members from 2 of our major water districts here, it doesn't seem like it'd be amiss for us to have our staff communicate with both districts to suggest that mirroring would be helpful. They're independent political subdivisions, and they may pull from different sources, so it may not work, but to suggest that we would appreciate the unity and ask that they put it on their radar probably wouldn't be amiss. I agree with Councilwoman Price-Hewish that our residents will be confused. I have put this map in newsletters and on social media so many times, and so I think we will just probably continue to exist in a state of confusion about the overlapping water districts until a different entity changes their name to take Bountiful out of it.
Okay. Yes. Good suggestions. Good thoughts. Any other thoughts, or are we ready for a motion?
I would suggest that we just modify the language in point number 4. I would, landscaping, including turf plantings and gardens on residential properties that utilize culinary water may be watered. I would just add in properties, comma, that utilize culinary water. That just would be my
Perfect,
recommendation.
perfect.
I don't think it's legislating on the fly. I think it's just clarifying on the fly.
Okay.
I'm not
thoughts?
objecting to the inclusion. I just would want to make sure staff feels like the inclusion is a helpful clarification, and so I just love their feedback before we vote on making it. And maybe they need a repeat of where you want the word while they're wordsmithing it.
On page 54 of Resolution 2025-05, point number 4, my proposal or my motion would be to adopt the resolution as written with this single addition of, on point number 4, page 54, that it would read, landscaping, including turf, plantings and gardens on residential properties, comma, that use culinary water for outdoor, or for outdoor use of, now I've messed it up. Okay, sorry. Landscaping, including turf, plantings and gardens on residential properties that use
Utilize
culinary water, comma, may be watered 3 times per week. That would be my suggested.
Got it. And I think that's clear.
Okay. There's a motion.
Is the motion also to approve the proclamation
Yes.
and the resolution
Yes.
as amended?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, thanks for your help with that.
You.
Okay, and now, Todd Christensen, are you going to help us with this next item?
Yes,
Great.
yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. This item is in regards to a new gas service easement for the city property at 135 South Main Street, which is currently under renovation. Excuse me. The old gas service that went to that building came in off of Main Street, and it's undersized for what we want to use the building for in the future, which is the restaurant. And it was also in a location that doesn't work very well with the building plans for the renovation and the restaurant that we're working on. And that gas service has been killed, and the meter removed and some of the line removed. And what we want to do is bring a new gas service in from the back of the building, closer to the kitchen, and we've been in contact with Enbridge Gas for this, and they are requiring easements. So this gas service would cross 2 different properties. The property with the Bountiful Plaza is a redevelopment agency property, and then the building is a property owned by Bountiful City. So the 2 different easements are, because there are 2 different properties. So the packet has the easements along with a diagram of these easements, and the staff recommends that the City Council adopt, and the RDA board, authorize granting an easement to Enbridge for the gas service line, which will serve 135 South Main Street.
Move to approve.
All in favor? Oh, second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to a meeting of the RDA board with a separate agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to a meeting of the RDA board with a separate agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned to the redevelopment agency. Are we good to go? Okay. So I'd like to welcome you to our redevelopment agency meeting tonight, Tuesday, July 22nd. And have you had a chance to review the minutes from the redevelopment agency?
Mayor, I've had a chance to review the minutes, and I'd make a motion to approve the June 24th minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And now we'll consider approval of an easement to Enbridge for the gas service line serving 135 South Main. Are you covering that for us?
Yes, and
I mean, it's the same.
It's the same thing.
It's the very
yes.
same thing that we just looked at. Council, do you have any, board, do you have any questions on this?
Mayor, I'm happy to make a motion that we approve the same things that we just did as the RDA board.
I'll second the same things we just did.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.